It started with a train ride and ended with a murder. A 10-year-old runaway escaping a brutal home life. Sleeping rough in a park for the next 3 years, he slipped through the cracks of a system designed to protect him. By age 14, he became one of the youngest killers in Queensland's history. An accomplice to the murder of a teenage boy in the same park he called home. For the first time, an ABC investigation can reveal the systemic failures that let a child down. And now those involved are calling for the state to rethink its party political approach to youth crime.
A family has been left shattered after a teenage boy was killed in an unprovoked knife attack.
He was jumped while walking home with a group of mates by 3 other young boys.
The two groups were not known to each other.
And police have charged 2 teenage boys over the alleged stabbing murder of 15-year-old Angus Beaumont.
It was pure chance the 10-year-old boy, known as Cody, ended up here on his first night on a March evening in 2017. It was just steps away from a youth centre where a former neighbour worked.
Mum had even gone to prison and Dad had died, and so there wasn't people out looking for him. It was us screaming, saying we need some support for this young person.
A decade before, the frontline youth worker had witnessed firsthand the violence and drug abuse that plagued his family home when she lived next door.
Child safety have known about this child from probably since he was born.
Documents seen by the ABC reveal his arrival was the genesis of a frustrating, one-sided campaign by the Accidental Advocate to find the boy a home. The shocking timeline chronicles 3 years of systemic failures, which saw him living with criminals and drug users.
We had contacted child safety so many times, like tens, hundreds of times.
It would take less than a year for homelessness to turn to lawlessness. What began with survival crimes like stealing food escalated to acts of random violence. Child Safety closed his case a year before the murder, leaving him back in his mum's home, considered too unsafe for caseworkers to visit.
Child Safety kept deeming Mum willing and able to provide the support for her children. Unfortunately, we know that not to be the case.
9 months before Angus Beaumont's death, workers from this youth centre met with child safety bureaucrats. They warned them that without urgent intervention in the boy's case, someone was going to die.
We could actually see this coming. Myself and another colleague had gone to the department and said that exact thing.
That's excruciating for Angus Beaumont's mum to hear.
He did not deserve to die. They could have stopped them at any turn. There were so many signs.
4 years on from his death, she still hasn't cleaned out his room.
It's the minute I get up. We're in a tiny little house and we didn't spend much time apart.
The Beaumont family has been vocal in advocating for harsher youth justice laws in the Queensland Parliament. But frontline social worker Amy Mays says a hardline approach to child criminals does not work.
Other countries have a bipartisan approach. We know that's what works.
The number of children incarcerated in Queensland is extraordinary.
Queensland has more young people in detention on an average day than New South Wales, Victoria, the ACT, South Australia and Tasmania combined.
Massive demand prompted the Queensland government to override the Human Rights Act twice last year. First, to bring back breach of bail as an offence for children, and again to allow the indefinite detention of children in watch houses.
Well, it was very clear to me and to many others that by summer we would have watch houses full of children for weeks on end.
In 2019, the ABC's Four Corners exposed a child detention crisis at the Brisbane watch house.
We've well and truly returned to the worst of 2019 at the moment.
We make no apology for having some of the harshest youth justice laws in the country.
The government rushed these changes under pressure.
My government is determined to keep the community safe.
Nothing this government says about youth crime can hold any credibility at all.
Amy Mays says the vexed issue won't improve until party politics is put aside.
We've got 3 decades of research on how to stop these things from happening, but we don't put them in place.
Now 19, Cody was convicted of manslaughter and was released on parole in February. What happened between that first train ride and Angus Beaumont's death has led to years of trauma on both sides of the tracks. Jemima Burt, ABC News, Brisbane.